Two is ATM Charles Huckabee. Charles is the past president and a member since 1995. I'd like to also add to his introduction, he was the alternate and he's filling in. Charles is giving an out of the manual speech titled Paradise. Let's welcome Charles.
We live in a paradise. Did you guys get, when you woke up this morning, was driving down Fairbanks, coming to the meeting, and over the horizon was this big, beautiful, cresting the horizon sun. This 27 million degrees at the core, 10 million degrees at the surface, 1.3 million times the size of planet Earth. This is an amazing, what they call gas giant. In our atmosphere, the planet Earth, North and South poles, we have a magnetic field, force field around Earth that protects us from this gas giant that we live by every day. So if the Earth moves a few degrees further away, or closer to, we fry or we freeze to death. So this is a balance that we all take for granted. This earth we live in is paradise. We live, breathe, we're protected on this paradise from that thing that can fry us in a heartbeat. I find it fascinating. When I was in 2000, when my oldest was 5 years old, and I bought a cheap telescope at Mills Photo and Hobby, and I'm a very amateur astronomist, astrologist, whatever you want to call it. And I was fascinated because one night, on a clear night, I could see the rings around Saturn. Very faint. This was a cheesy little telescope. It wasn't very powerful. So you never stop buying and improving. So the next one up was a couple $1,000s, and the next one up from that was $10,000. So I had to tap out at $500. But it kind of got me on a path of following what NASA's doing, and the fascinating things that NASA does that we never hear about. So they wanted to observe the sun, so they sent up a probe in 1993, which this year just got to the orbit of Sun 27 years ago, Alpha Centauri. So now, something we did almost 30 years ago, we're allowed this. Now keep in mind, this is 1993 technology. All the computer systems, everything in this thing is generations outdated. So we're dealing with stuff, I mean, you can only imagine. When I started my business in 97, I bought a gateway computer for $3,000, and it was the size of a car. And my iPhone has 100 times more power than this computer. My internet connection was a satellite dish on the roof of my office building, which was 40 inches in diameter, and it would go out every time the weather would change. So I was in business, then I was out of business. But what I find fascinating about the sun is, and what we as human beings, it's amazing how we just take this for granted. We get up every day, we go about our business. So if you need a new perspective in life, look at the stars. When you look at the Milky Way, there's billions of planets here. And they've just figured out and found out within the last decade that every one of those stars has a moon that circulates that star. So every one of those stars has a moon, just like planet Earth has a moon. There's so much stuff that we don't know, but there's so much stuff that we're just now learning within the last 10 to 20 years. It's really just this compression of knowledge and technology, which has really advanced a lot of the things that we thought we knew that we're having to relearn. And sometimes we don't know what we know now. We don't want to know what we know now. Yeah, I said that wrong, but I don't know where this speech is going, other than the fact that I'm excited about telling you guys about the stars. So, in our own solar system, the galaxy is the larger. Our solar system, which is what is around us, we have Saturn, Venus, Mars, there's all this hoopla about Mars. Well, if you look at these planets, different planets in the solar system, they're either way too cold, 450 degrees below zero, or 700 degrees. So none of these planets, we're looking for life. We're looking for anything as a sign of life. Is there water? Well, some of these planets have a crust with oceans underneath. Some of these planets rain molten iron ore. That's the rain, iron ore, molten iron ore. So how long will we survive in that? My point is that this planet we live on is perfectly adapted to life, to us. So far, we haven't found in the billions of planets out there that we've looked at, we haven't seen anything or found anything close to this. Now we have mathematical theory and calculations that there's other planets in the Milky Way. There's 37 planets like Earth potentially in the Milky Way. Well, maybe. We're yet to see them. We launched the Hubble telescope in 1990. So you have observatories on Earth. We see through the clouds and Earth's atmosphere out into space. Well, they got the idea that we need to send one of these telescopes into space so we can be clear of the Earth's atmosphere, so we can see further into space and observe things we've never seen before. Well, they said this thing's got a life of about 20 years. Well, now it's 31 years old, and they're still using this thing. And it's what we've learned from this. All the pictures you see from NASA are from the Hubble, primarily. Well, they've got a new generation telescope, which is, the lens on Hubble is 36 inches wide. It's a refracting telescope. The light comes in, reflects off the lens, and it captures in a camera at the peak of the telescope, and that's what we get our data from. It takes days to get this stuff back and forth to communicate from this. The newest generation of this is a 27-foot refracting telescope that they're going to send on the other side of the moon, and it is an origami telescope that opens up like an origami and bird, and this will allow us to see things in infrared and things we could not imagine. So it's coming supposedly in October or November of this year. Be waiting. Thank you.